Steve is 33. He first became unwell when he was 21. But Steve, I'd say, was your normal, average youngster or young man. When he was young, he was a very good sportsman, and dare I say, a really excellent footballer. You know, he's tall, unlike me. He's over 6 foot. Strapping lad, and a very gentle lad. The psychosis really started when he was between 20 and 21. It was just before his 21st birthday party. Probably about 3, maybe 6, 9 months before that, it was clearly things weren't right with him. He started showing sort of odd behaviour, and I thought he was getting depressed because he started dropping out of college. His girlfriend packed him up, and his mate said to me that he's getting a bit bizarre and a bit outrageous when they go out. You know, I couldn't talk to him. I tried to talk to him, but like, he was a young man who didn't really want to talk to his dad about deep, worrying thoughts. But then it pretty well happened. The psychosis, really, it virtually happened overnight. I went to switch off the television, and Steve suddenly looked at me and said, "Why did you ring the BBC today?" And I said, "Sorry, Steve, what are you talking about?" He said, "You know what I'm talking about, because they've been calling my name out all day on the television and on the radio." And I kind of realised then that I had a really sick young man, and that things weren't just about depression. And it was almost as though from that time that he came out with that, he nosedived and went into a deep psychosis, and to the point that I couldn't even communicate with him. He used to mumble in almost like a strange dialect. Medication was the difference between, you know, falling in and staying in the abyss, to actually Steve getting on the road to mending himself. And it was like a light switch, literally like a light switch, because from him making strange noises to being a total recluse, to being really, you know, almost like an android walking around the house, within a few days of when he got the right medication, it transformed him. The road to recovery was a long and slow, but kind of subtle signs, and they were things like, for example, coming out of his room, because for 2 or 3 years he pretty well lived in his room virtually as a hermit almost. So coming out of his room, and little things like saying, "Hello, Dad," and little things like going out for a walk. There's these little subtle changes, and if you went to a psychiatrist and said to him, "Oh, you know, he said hello to me this morning," or he went out and walked in the garden and helped my wife take the washing down, that was like a eureka moment for us. But you'd think maybe a doctor would think, well, so what? But for us, they were kind of eureka moments. I mean, they seem very simple little things, but they were kind of fundamental to us. And other little signs was that he asked me if he could go to football with me one day, completely out of the blue. And we've had lots of those little moments. And I suppose for us, what we can see is a slow, gradual progress. And for Steve, it's really about kind of him learning to live with the condition. You know, one day I kind of just said to him, as I often said, you know, "How's the voices today, Steve?" And he'd say, "Well, it's funny you should say that. They're not. They've been a bit, you know, they've been all right today. They've been quite funny today. They haven't been saying horrible things to me today." And then we got in a little bit of a conversation. It lasted about 2 minutes, and then he completely changed. But that was a big moment, actually. So I was showing signs that he was letting us in. He started to socialise and started to go to community centres and things. It gave us hope, and it made me realise that, you know, that there is life after schizophrenia.